The jelly bean is a sugary sensation. Billions are sold at Easter alone. To make jelly beans, they heat liquid sugar in a big kettle to about 175 degrees Celsius. They add glucose, which is a more concentrated sugar, and then starch. An agitating device mixes it all together. While elsewhere in the factory, starch spills out of a drum onto big trays. A leveler moves back and forth to even out the starch on the trays. The trays then move forward, and a brush knocks off the excess starch. It will be recycled. A molding board now presses down. It makes 756 jelly bean impressions in the starch in each tray. The impressions in the starch will serve as molds for the jelly bean centers. Nozzles inject the sugar and starch mix cooked in the kettle into the starch molds. This system can make almost 1 million jelly bean centers an hour. Next, the conveyor belt takes the jelly bean centers to the drying room, where they stay for 24 hours. This solidifies them. They become chewier. Arms flip the trays of dried candy centers and starch and dump them into a big drum that will separate them. When the trays flip back, they're refilled with starch and the molding process begins again. Meanwhile, the dried jelly bean centers, now separated from the starch, tumble out of the drum onto a wire mesh conveyor system. It transports them to a steam belt which dampens them. This readies them for the next step, sugar coating. The jelly bean centers go into a sander drum that tosses them around, while nozzles spray them with sugar. In another part of the factory, liquid sugar flows out of a kettle into a tub. A worker adds blue food coloring to the syrup, and then he blends it in. This mix is called engrossing syrup. He adds the engrossing syrup, along with some flavoring, to the jelly bean centers as they tumble around in a tilted spinning pan. After they turn a very sticky blue, the worker dumps some sugar into the pan. This process is repeated 4 times in order to build up a coating around the gummy center. The next day, when the beans have hardened, they add hot syrup to the mix and toss the beans around again. This polishes the jelly beans. There's a lot of sweet stuff here. 124,000 jelly beans in each pan. Now he adds a little wax. And as the pan spins, the beans rub against each other, distributing the wax. This adds gloss to the polish. Then the pan stops spinning, and the jelly beans air dry for 24 hours to allow the glaze to set. It's the finishing touch. After 3.5 days, this big batch of jelly beans is ready. They move in a multicolored mass along a series of conveyors. They fall into a scale system that portions them out for specific bag sizes. Then a trapdoor opens and they drop down a chute to the packaging department. Once they're in the bag, the jelly beans are ready to sweeten your day.